I am back, guys. Okay, so I am back, guys. Okay, got it. Hey, Jess. Okay, so I am glad for, hey, D, anyone that can join me on this broadcast. I am going to share with you guys a lot of interesting things, pretty much how I got started in the events industry, a lot of obstacles I faced, how I was able to overcome those obstacles, and what some of those strategies you can actually apply to your business if you haven't already gone through those or will go through that sometime in the future. So we are going to start this show. Okay, so I am Precious. I am creator and founder of what started as Posh Designs LLC, which later turned into the Posh Academy. I also am a draping instructor. I also now just launched into business coaching and business strategy. And last but not least, I am a mom, wife, and dog lover. This I'm going to share with you is my core, my foundation, why I actually do everything I do now. And it's all because of my babies. This is my Chloe and my 3 kids. And hey, Tanya, and my 3 kids. This picture is like when they was a lot younger. They're a lot older now, but that was the most common one I could find. I'm trying to see, okay. Wait a minute, Jazz, tell me if my screen is changing. It's not, okay. Hey, Annette. Okay, so I'll do it this way. I really hate using Facebook Live because it's not as good as Zoom, but we're gonna roll with it. Okay, so starting off again, we're gonna go through my foundation, which I said is my kids. This is my dog, my lovely Chloe. Some of you guys see her in a lot of my pictures. These are my 3 kids. I am a new grandma here in Atlanta. It's just me and my daughter. My 2 sons are finishing school back home in Baltimore. My oldest son, clearly he's on his own. He lives on his own with his newfound family. So yeah, Michelle, now you should see it. So back and 5 months ago, I just moved to Atlanta from Baltimore. Actually in September, 6 months ago in September. Really blunt decision, just kind of came. You'll kind of hear that process and how that came about. But those that don't know, I am new to Atlanta, originally from Baltimore, Maryland, which is where everything kind of started, everything kind of shifted, everything kind of fell apart, and then everything came back together. So I purchased my first home in September of, I should say 2018, last year, September of 2018, September the 26th to be exact is when I actually closed. And directly a month after that is when I actually got married. Got married here in Atlanta. Some of you may be aware of the Pop Bliss, which is a group pop-up wedding. That is how me and Nathan got married. We got married at the Georgia Aquarium. It was by the lovely Reverend Roxy. I, at the time, didn't know who she was, but later found out who she was, and really glad that we had that experience. But the whole experience at this time was beginning to be a little overwhelming, because not only did I just move to a whole nother state, I don't have all of my kids with me here in Atlanta, and then I just promptly left my job. I just decided that I was going to go full throttle in this business. And at this time, I still didn't have a full-fledged plan. So how I got started 2 years ago. It got started in September. This is when we were engaged. Actually, me and Nathan was engaged, and I was at the time trying to get, we was planning a wedding, and we were, looking through planners, and even at that time, I didn't understand the difference between a wedding planner and a wedding designer. So as we was interviewing people, things just sounded fuzzy, and I was then determined that they didn't even know what they were either. They say they were planning, but then they wanted to do decor. It just was a little overwhelming, and I really couldn't find the one that just brought my vision to life. So this is kind of when it started, like when the giblet started all in my brain cells. Then about a month, I don't know if it was a week, or it was like really close to that time frame when we was trying to plan our wedding, we had went to another wedding. And the wedding we went to, it was put together really, really nice, but it was put together by family. And it was really nice. I was really surprised. So we went home, and I still was just amped up. Not only the fact that, these people got married and it was a beautiful union, but I was amped up that they did it on their own. Like, they did it with their family. And I was like, wow, I could do that. So I just, the juices started flowing. Now, this is in September. I'm still contemplating, still trying to do a little bit of research in October. But then in November, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was November the 16th. I was in bed. At the time, it was my fiance. I'm talking to him more in detail about it. Like, I'm really just ready to at least just get it started. Like, I really believe I could do it. I just wanted to get into the field. That was pretty much, at that point, that was all I knew. I just wanted to get into the field. And I just wanted to make things pretty. So a couple days after that is when the process actually started. One thing I can say about me, I've always been that way. Once my mind is made up, and I contemplate, and I go to bed, and if I wake up with the same thoughts, I'm going to put it into action. So a couple days later, on November the 23rd, I had sent my best friend downtown to file my paperwork. Because like a couple days before that, I was going through names and just trying to figure out all of the stuff. So November the 23rd is when she actually got up and went to file my paperwork for my LLC. I tried to do all my research at the time, as far as my business name, as far as my website, my logo. I was trying to discover what I actually wanted to do. And it just, if you kind of can think of where I was mentally at the time, and if you pay attention to what I'm saying that I was doing at the time, you're going to notice that I skipped a lot of steps. And I skipped a lot of steps because I didn't know no better. I really didn't know any better. So I did all that stuff. And I started off really, 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 really wrong. A lot of things I did not discover was my why. I didn't have no clue on why I wanted to do it. I just knew I wanted to do it. I wasn't sure what I was even going to do. I didn't know if I was going to be in event planning. I didn't know if I was going to be, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to be in the field. I wanted to work in events. I wanted to do people's weddings. I wanted to do people's parties, and that was pretty much it. But another thing I didn't know who my audience was. I was just jumping in. I didn't know anything about targeting. I didn't know, you had to find an avatar and build your ideal audience. I didn't do any of that. And I didn't discover what success meant to me. Success means different things to different people. Some people, success may be being financially set for the rest of their life. Another person's success would be being an entrepreneur and not having to work for no one else. Another person's success would be, like one of mine, is something so small as I can be able to get out of bed when I want. I mean, I don't know how valuable that is to you guys, but to me, someone that has really worked and hustled since I was 13 years old, to now be able to get up when I want, or not get up, is that to me is like, okay, I did it. I made a big change in my life, something that was substantially important to me. I also didn't understand my core values. When you talk generally, you pretty much know people value family, they value loyalty, but when you really get down to the core, the actual core, that what rocks your spirit, I didn't determine any of that. And I have no sense of direction. I didn't know anyone that was in the events industry. I had no mentors. I had no one that I could bounce ideas off of. I had no one that can tell me if I was thinking too big. I literally had none of that. My biggest support system at this time was my fiance. And that can be a gift and a curse because he is my biggest cheerleader. However, if I'm just having some ridiculous thought, he's gonna pretty much let me run with it. I don't know if it's because his faith in me is so big or he don't want me to doubt myself. I don't know. But when you need actual realistic feedback, I know he's not one of my go-tos because it's going to be whatever you want, dear. It's going to be one of those kind of conversations. So I did everything wrong in the beginning, and it showed up. It really showed up. It showed up in terms of when I went to do my first event. Now I got registered in November. This was my first event, guys. Now you see that this is Christmas time. And you see that this looks a mess. But going into it, I really went into it blindsided. I didn't know anything. At this time, I don't even think I was familiar with Pinterest. Pinterest is where we get the visual motivation and the inspiration. I had none of that. I just knew I had a limited budget. I didn't know how to do any treats. I just knew I needed to make it look like something. So I wasn't, at this point, I was just getting into treat making. And if you can't really see, but the actual photos that's on my IG, because I keep them there because it's inspiration to me, to let me know where I came from in such a short period of time. If you zoom in, those cupcakes and the pretzels and the brownies, all that stuff look so hideous. It looks really hideous. Not to mention the table swag. For one, the fabric is all wrong. For two, you can see where it's bunched up with just, I think, a safety pin. This picture I can't explain to you guys what this picture does to me. I don't know. It just shows me that I had no clue of what I was doing, but I just went for it. And I knew I was going to learn along the way, and I was just going to get criticized or get, coached, but I was ready to take it head on. I also, if you notice in the back, I used a plastic tablecloth as my backdrop. I knew nothing about backdrops. Absolutely nothing, guys. And I had taped this stuff on the wall. I knew at this point, I knew the design elements a little bit. If you can see where I'm trying to stagger, I'm trying to stagger the treat jars, the apricot jars, but clearly it's just all wrong. So it was showing up that I clearly didn't know anything I was doing. And then some of you guys may recognize this. Yes, this is PVC pipe. Yes, I was one of those that made my own backdrops. And I'm telling you guys, when I first got into this thing, I was doing everything DIY. Everything that I can think of, because creatively, I'm a beast. But when you don't know, you don't know. And I had to learn through a lot of trial and error. Of course, I was on the YouTube videos and seeing how to do this and seeing how to cut that. And I made it work. It did work. However, I knew it didn't feel right in my spirit. I knew that this is not what I wanted to produce for me and my company. This is when I started doing, when you got to get out there, you just start doing events. You just start doing things. So my first event once I started making the PVC pipes was my husband's. I did him at the time, my fiance. I gave him a little party at a bowling alley. Now, looking at this photo, I see everything wrong. For one, I'm actually using cotton fabric. Who the heck uses cotton fabric on a backdrop? And I could see how I tried to cover my knots and did a little something creatively, but it's just all wrong. And this is a homemade stand right here. And it just reminded me that although I felt like something was off and it clearly wasn't what I what I wanted to produce at the bowling alley. This thing, it just, people was attracted to it. I don't know if it was just because it was something different, or, you know, I'm always kind of like a big go big or go home kind of girl. So we were in a regular bowling alley, and yeah, I had balloon columns. I had the tables dressed up. Like, it was just something that they never seen at this particular bowling alley. It wasn't a regular AMF. It was like a bistro bowling alley. So everyone else was pretty impressed with it, but it didn't resonate with me, with my spirit, none of that. So I didn't feel confident. I did it again. I just was trying to keep at it to, I was comfortable. This is my daughter. Her birthday, this was the very next month. Her birthday was in February. So I knew that my kids and my family had birthdays like lined up where I could kind of just get in a lot of practice. But the problem was, for one, I wasn't feeling confident. And for two, I was attracting the wrong kind of clients. If I was producing this kind of work, who do you think would be attracted to this kind of work? One, it would be people with low budgets. And, you know, it would be hagglers pretty much. So, and that's where that is where the disconnect came in, because I knew my value, I knew my worth. However, the work that I was putting out at the time clearly didn't match. So how do you think that made me feel as, you know, an entrepreneur, or trying to be an entrepreneur? Yeah, it just wasn't great. So this is, you know, I started branching out again, doing free events. But however, now I started doing it for other family members, and it was something that we had to leverage in some kind of way. I was not comfortable with supplying everything and then even doing all of the labor. That I clearly wasn't going to do. If it was my kids and like my family, I didn't mind. But when you get in the whole event, no, I feel like at this point, you either need to pay for all the supplies, or you need to, it has to be something that would benefit my business, meaning you got to hire professional photography, and I have to have access to those photos. But for this particular event, I'm glad that wasn't the case, because I wouldn't even want professional photos for this. This backdrop, again, when I look at this, I think at this point I was using the photography stand. That was my level up from the PVC. Boy, was I crazy. So that was my level up. And again, it just wasn't feeling well with my spirit. This is when I branched out and did a canopy with the PVC. I don't know if you guys can see, but everything, when I look at this, I see everything is just wrong. I could see the imbalance of the balloon columns. I can see just the fabric choice is wrong. I could see where I just threw the swag over the top of that wasn't a crossbar because it was PVC pipe. So I could just see where I just threw it over there, and it's just kind of hanging in the background. I could see where my frame, I was running out of time, so I could see where the frame is just like on the floor. I mean, it just was a trip. But I was going to continuously go at it. I wasn't ready to give up just yet. But I realized that something needed to change. Something needed to change. I didn't know what needed to change, but I knew in order for my dynamic and for my audience and for me to get higher paying clients, something had to change. At this point, I wasn't even discoverable. So I got into what we all do. We get into every single thing. I mean, we all over the place. All I knew is I wanted to market myself. However, I was still doing it wrong. I knew when I was out in public, I wanted to, I wanted people to recognize the brand and, recognize my company and maybe ask a question or whatever it was. Anything at this point that I can give away that I made myself, I gave away. I gave away chip bags at events. I wore my shirts anywhere I could go. I got my website at this point all kind of pretty, so I thought I did, but I still was in a rut, is how I felt. I was running in circles, and nothing really was taking me to the next level. So what I did, I practiced. Now, I told you guys about those cupcakes at the Christmas party, right? I knew nothing of a swirl. I knew nothing of presentation. I knew nothing of watermarking your photos prior to, you know, me practicing, and then being in groups and hearing the horror stories of how people steal your photos and how, you know, your lighting need to be right and how you just need to brand yourself and all that stuff. So at this point, I'm still researching, I'm still learning, but I'm still not satisfied. But I'm still practicing. So I got better. But I just wasn't happy. So as I got better, quite naturally, I was able to raise my prices a little, not too much, but a little, because the presentation was being a little better. I did invest into some quality items, or so I thought was quality items at the time. And, you know, I was able to get a little higher paying clients, but something was still missing. I wasn't happy. When they were done, when I was done, they were happy, like with the outcome, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't being fulfilled in any kind of way. I really wasn't. So I got so frustrated. I really was just getting frustrated. And this picture says everything. For one, I was spending entirely too much time in Facebook groups. I was on a bunch of webinars because I'm trying to do research. I'm trying to learn this. I'm trying to learn that. But it really wasn't getting me anywhere I needed to be. I also was grabbing a million freebies that I could get my hands on. And now it took some time to actually learn that I don't care, unless the freebie is directly linked to something I need or is valuable to what I'm trying to do, it isn't going to do my business any justice. Because for one, a lot of the freebies, unless it's a direct resource and telling you where to go or something like that, if it's normally a script, I don't speak like everyone else. So it really wouldn't benefit my business because that is not my messaging. So I did it, you know, I was grabbing freebies and trying to get ideas and what needed to be done or what was the need, but it wasn't my messaging. So again, it did not resonate with my brand. It did not speak my personality. And it just, the files would pile up. I have a million files on my desk, but nothing really was getting done. So I felt really busy. However, I was not being productive at all. I really wasn't. Not to mention, I still, at this point, still had a full-time day job. I did want to leave and I was preparing to leave, but I think that was more or less just like a thought. It really wasn't something that I was trying to speak into fruition. It really wasn't something that I even believed I could do at this point. Because for one, I was comfortable at my job. I didn't have any plans to leave. It just was set up for me. It was just set up too perfectly. So I thought that's where I was going to be. I was getting really discouraged. I knew that I didn't have the knowledge to, you know, to get to the level I wanted to get to. And it was really chipping away at my confidence. I was not confident in myself, and I really wasn't confident in my business. I don't care how many accolades everyone else says. When you don't feel it in your core and your gut, it really, it's kind of just don't resonate with you. So I wasn't as confident. So I really wouldn't show up. I just wouldn't show up. Some events, like not events, but some consultations, like if I was intimidated, like if I knew it was a big budget and I felt as if I didn't have the know-how at that time to pull that together, and I didn't have enough time to really do my research. And I guess that's one of my downfalls. I am an extensive researcher. I really am. I just would, you know, you ever do something that where you know it's not true, but you know you kind of getting off the hook easily. Like I may say I'm not available when I know goodness well I was available, but I just wasn't confident enough to take the gig. Especially weddings. Like weddings is so emotional and such a roller coaster. When I wasn't comfortable to do a wedding. I really wasn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because when you lack confidence and it shows up in your work, it can really kill your business. And I knew I was sitting on something valuable. I just didn't know how to put the pieces together. I would see other people or other business owners doing really well, and I would get so like beside myself, because I knew deep down, for one, I was passionate. I knew I had the work ethic. I knew I was going to eat, sleep, and drink what I wanted to do, but I couldn't determine what I was doing wrong. I thought I was doing everything that I knew how to do, but then I realized I needed to be fed. I needed to be taught. I needed to be guided. I needed some kind of pathway to help me get to the finish line. That I did not have. I was trying to figure out, like, you would see other people and they busy and they have a lot of work, but the quality of their work is, you just don't understand how that can happen. Or I didn't understand how that could happen. And here I was, thinking I'm doing everything right, and the consistency of clients just wasn't there. They made it look really, really easy. Like, I mean, every time you turn around, they posting pictures and here go another gig and here go another gig. And I'm like, if this is my passion, something I really, really love, and that I'm willing to go full throttle, why was it so daggone hard? I was really battling, guys. Like, I could not understand. And like, I would pray on it. And, I was trying to do the meditating thing, but at the time I didn't know how to do it. So that was even being wrong as well. I just didn't get it. Like, why was they so special? I thought I was just as deserving as the next event pro, because I felt like I had all the elements in place. I felt like I had everything there. All I needed was either the resource, so I just needed to be obviously somewhere at the time that I wasn't. So then I just realized, again, like I told you guys in the beginning, I started off all wrong. I clearly didn't know why I wanted to be a business owner. I wasn't sure of what kind of business owner I even wanted to be. I was battling with, do I want to do event design? Do I want to do event planning? Do I want to just be a treat maker? Like, I was everywhere. Do I want to be a craft, like, make shirts and pillows? And do I want to be a rental agency, like with the drones? It was ridiculous. I was everywhere. And I didn't know who my audience was. At that point, I was just throwing the line out there, and whoever got caught, I was going to wheel them in. I didn't know how to target and work with specific people that I wanted to work with, or specific clients that I wanted to work with. So therefore, I was attracting those low-end clients. And I didn't know what success was at that time. I didn't know what success was to me. I didn't know how to measure, like to say at what point did I make it, or I'm okay, I'm content. I made it to a milestone. Let's create another one. I had no idea what that even was. My core values, we already talked about that. They were shot. I had no idea. And I had no sense of direction. A lot of the mistakes I made, procrastinating. I procrastinated in the terms of, I would get certain prospects and I wouldn't follow up properly, or I just wasn't really operating as a business owner because the doubt was already all in my spirit. It was all there. And you get people say, oh, that's pretty. But it wasn't the reaction. I was looking for the tears and the jumping jacks, and that's what I was looking for. So, and I wasn't getting that yet. So it really just caused me to procrastinate and, not keep up on, when you have consultations and then, you follow up. I wouldn't even follow up because I felt as if they weren't going to book with me, or, the doubt was just there. It really was there. And it was all in my belly. I wasn't prioritizing right. I don't even realize at that time what a priority was. I just knew I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And I was going to be on every webinar and every book I needed to read to get to do it. But I really wasn't being productive. I was supposed to make some goals. I didn't even have no goals. I was supposed to make some goals and realize what direction I wanted to go in and knock them down accordingly. That did not happen. So I ended up everywhere, serving everybody and getting burnt out in the end. And then I was being too vague. I wasn't being specific enough about what I wanted to do. And until I was able to do that, I stayed in the same place. I was just saying, I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to make beautiful cakes. I wanted to style events, and, I wanted some throne chairs. But until I got very, very, very specific about what I wanted to do, I had to start speaking things later. It came up later, but I had to start speaking things like, I want a house where I can have inventory station. I want a house where I can have my own office. I want a house where I have 20-foot ceilings so I can do workshops. And that is really, really, really specific. So when it came to, and I didn't even know nothing. I had no idea I was even going to look for a house. That came later as well. But when I was going to look for one, I knew it had to serve my business needs. Now, had I not did the soul searching part, I think right now I would be very unhappy in whatever home I bought, because it would not service what I actually needed. I had to change my mindset and realize that tangible things, materialistic things should have more meaning than just the fact that it's something tangible. So I, now I look for things that has multi-purposes. But I was setting goals that, kind of unrealistic, because how can I land these $10,000 and $15,000 clients if I'm showing up with PVC pipes? Like, that's unrealistic. So it just was things like that. And then I wasn't working on my goals daily. Like, I would do it in spurts. Like, if I get a burst of energy, like, I don't know, maybe somebody just said some really amazing quote to me, I want to buckle down and get a lot of things done. Or, at the time, my job, when normally if I'm in my office, my inspiration, I had this really huge window in my office. So normally if I stay out the window and my mind get to racing, when I'm done in that moment, I can start tackling, whatever I wanted to do that day. But it was so inconsistent, I just didn't have a flow. It was kind of like, okay, I'm here. And then for the next couple of weeks, I'm gone. And then it was ridiculous. It was all over the place. But now things were kind of coming into fruition. Now I'm kind of in I want to say 2017. I'm in mid 2017. Things are kind of beginning to get into fruition. I'm starting to listen to not just people in the industry. I'm starting to listen to people that I am inspired by. I started to listen to people that was on a level that I wanted to get to. And the problem was, prior to me doing that, I was listening to people that was already on my level. Like, if I'm doing $800 parties and you're doing $800 parties, what can you really tell me to get me to the next level? You can't. We could share ideas, but guess what? It's going to keep us at that $800 level. So I had to change my focus, and I had to start listening to people that I aspired to be. And I learned how to adapt a lot of the things that they were doing in their business that was working. And I'm telling you guys, it all started with a mindset shift. It definitely all started with a mindset shift. I had to hit the reset button. And that's exactly what I did. I hit the reset button. I changed my mindset. I invested in a coach. I'm not going to say that the first time was a charm, because it took me about 3. And even then, at that time, I knew I needed a coach, or I knew I needed a mentor, but I didn't understand what kind of coach or what kind of mentor, because there's so many different ones. There are coaches that help you with a launch. There are coaches that help you organize your business. There are coaches that help you develop a program. And just going into that, I had no clue. I just thought I needed a business coach. And I didn't. I needed a business coach, one that was tailored to my kind of business, that was really specific and knowledgeable of my kind of business, and could get me to where I needed to go. Meaning, they had to have some kind of experience. Like, if I'm launching a program, I needed a coach that was experienced in launching programs. I didn't need a coach that was experienced in launching mindsets, because I had already picked that tool up myself. Or an account, if I needed someone to help me with my mind, maybe I would get an accountability coach or something of the magnitude. But it took me quite some time to get the right kind of coach. And honestly, what it taught me, I knew I kind of always was a teacher by default, never in the aspect of teaching a workshop, teaching anything like that, just teaching from experience. I've always shared my experience. I've always shared my knowledge. And people always said I was a natural teacher, educator, or a good resource. So I knew that this was something I could possibly do myself. When I speak to people, I get lit up. I just light up. And I think I get more, I don't know if I get more excited at the fact that they're listening. And I mean, not just listening, they are like tuned in. And so it kind of make you like, wow, they listening to what I got to say. So that is exciting in itself. So I knew I wanted to do that. And so I knew I needed a coach that teach coaches. But I found that out a little later. But however, it took me a little bit. And in my first couple of experiences of finding a coach, it taught me what kind of coach I did not want to be. So I can't really say it was a waste, because it definitely was a lesson. I knew the ways I did not want to communicate with my clients. I knew, I just knew different ramifications that I would put in place that wasn't put in place for me. I feel as if before certain coaches brought me on, I should have been maybe analyzed, because if you're trying to do something, there's certain things you should have put in place first. Like, you shouldn't launch a business. I mean, you shouldn't launch a product or a service if you haven't done the foundational stuff. And so many coaches at these days, they just, they want you to sign the contract, they want you to send the money, and then they just kind of send you a blueprint. And no, I'm not that kind of learner. I need interaction. I need engagement. I know that. So if this is like we going to correspond through email, that is not the coach for me. So I had to invest in the coach, and it took me some time to find a good coach and one that had great chemistry. I also had to develop some real goals, like some real goals, and they had to. That's when I learned the SMART goals. I had to be specific on what I actually wanted. And as soon as I've been specific, I lie to you not, guys, I swear, I'm gonna go find the post, because me and my, at the time, fiance, we did some vision boards. And it was like the beginning of the year. This is kind of something we normally do in the beginning of the year. And my vision board was an annual, something I wanted to do by the time the year was up. It wasn't, and I was just getting into the SMART stuff. So I was trying to be specific. So of course I put the house down there. I put that I wanted to move to another state on there. I put that I wanted to eat healthy. I put that I wanted to get married. I put that I wanted to go out of the country. And I think that was, and I put that I had an income goal that I wanted to save up for. Guys, I lie to you not. Those goals were achieved by, I hope it didn't. Those goals were achieved by within 4 months. All of them were achieved within 6 months, but most of them were achieved within 4 months. And that's just how it kind of happened. And that is really what made me start understanding how you manifest things into your life. That's when I got really heavy into speaking exactly what I want. Then not only speaking it, but putting realistic, measuring them out, being able to measure. So now that's when I create, especially for you guys in the group, I created the quarterly goals. And those that I work closely with, we narrow them down to monthly goals, weekly goals, down to daily goals. Because if you don't have anything that you are aspiring to or that you're looking to achieve, how can you measure the fact if you're being successful, or how can you do that? So you got to be real specific. If you say you want, let's just say, increase your engagement. I use this one a lot. Increase your engagement on your social media for the week. Okay, break that down even further. How are you going to increase what are you going to do every day that is adding to that goal? Are you going to go and follow influencers? Are you going to go and strike up conversations, leave comments, build relationships? Like that's a daily goal. So normally when I'm working on my social media, I set out either 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what the goal is, working on nothing but that. And I do it every day until the end of the week. And then I measure. And that would determine if it was successful or not. And then I determine if, the A, as far as if it's achievable in the amount of time I allot. So if I want to increase my social media, I don't normally say just increase my social media. I would say by the end of the week, I want 50 new followers. But here lately, now that everyone doing the you know, the follow, the jump on the bandwagon, list your business. And so now it's a lot easier because everyone is doing that. But realistically, I would normally do, I want to increase it by 50 followers by the end of the week. So every day I would have a set target goal that I would do. And by the end of the week, I felt like that was a great amount of time where I should definitely be able to obtain 50 followers. And if you guys can see or have been seeing, and even in the group, I want to expand the group. So every week I only allow access once a week, and that's normally on Mondays. Every Monday we have had, some Mondays has been over 100 followers. New members. And some weeks lately, because we've been doing it more frequent, it's been like maybe 30 or 40. But that is a great measure. That's a great measurement. Like 40 new members per week in your group that is in your industry. These are not just random folk. These are people that are in my industry. So that for me was, I was able to determine that to be successful. Then whatever goals I set, I got to determine, are they really realistic? Given my my set of skills and the resources that I have, whatever I'm trying to set, is it even realistic? And everything I put on my vision board, it was realistic. However, I was trying to do that within the year, and I just was so specific that I actually focused on it, and I was able to do it in 4 to 6 months, every single one. And that blew my mind. I'm telling you, blew my mind. So, and the time is it enough time to be able to achieve whatever goal that you're trying to set? That was, when you do all these together, it really helps you know if you're setting the right goals, if everything is in a great time frame, if it's realistic, will you be able to do it? Because normally if you don't, I mean, some people are really good at setting goals, but some are not. So if you do apply the SMART method, it lets you know if the goal is just too far-fetched, or, you know, if you'll be able to do it. Otherwise, if you don't, and you set these goals that's like, you know, you want to make $1 million. Okay, I get that. But then you'll set yourself up for failure. Not saying you won't make $1 million, but if you say you want to make $1 million in 2 months and you really don't have the resources and the skills in place to do that, you're going to set yourself up for failure. So I try and apply the SMART method every time I set a goal. I don't care if it's one of my smallest goals is getting up in the morning and drinking water. That's the first thing I do. So it really don't matter the size of the goal, but just being consistent. Oh, and then I had to determine when I'm in my little reset phase, what was required for me to get to the finish line, or at least halfway to the finish line. I knew the biggest thing I had to do was invest in education. That was something I just had to do hands down, because everything I wanted to do, I tried all of the free stuff. I was unable to do it. I still could not provide the quality of the, you know, of design that I knew deep down I knew I could do it. But I'm the type of person, all you got to do is show me. I'm gonna run with the rest, because I'm gonna be creative and put my own spin on it. So I knew I had to invest in education, and I actually been knowing this for a while. However, I was uncomfortable because before, you know, mentally and spiritually, I wasn't confident in my business. So why would I sit there and invest $5,000 in any kind of education when I don't have no idea and what's going to happen after this education? How is I'm going to incorporate into my business? You know, how is the structure going to support what I just invested? So I finally got to this point where I knew I had to do it. It was really no other way. So that's what I did. I went and became certified. I knew I needed that because at that time when I went, I didn't know there were no, I think the only other one as far as certification or training I knew of was, I can't think of the name. It was some institute. But I knew I specifically did my research, and I specifically was attracted to this draping. That is what just filled me up. I knew I didn't want to do any more treats. If I didn't have to look at another cake pop, I didn't want to. I knew I didn't want to do all the little customized boxes and cards. And for me, that's just entirely too much work. And I didn't want to do that. That was just too much. So I went and focused on my niche. I discovered my niche, which was draping. And when I'm telling you guys, I sort of wish that all of the options that is available now, like it's so many people doing workshops now, and it's ridiculous, but it really is a good thing if it's a great workshop, because it provides you with exactly what you need. Like, although I love that I went away and became certified and all that, however, after day 2, there really was nothing else I needed, because that was all, that was really all I was focusing on, was the draping aspect of it. All the other stuff, I was just kind of disinterested at that point. But I knew that once I did it, I did feel a sense of pride. Like, now, okay, I came away with a great amount of knowledge. Now I could get it. I mean, that first day, I was good. What I learned on that first day, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to go back home and I'm going to make it work. So I was fired up. And I had a sense of purpose now. I knew exactly what my business was going to be geared towards. And I also noticed so much attraction. So it just, it attracted so much engagement. I also noticed that there was a need. So I realized all of the things I was going through, no one, giving me any kind of insight, no one helping, no one putting me in the right direction. I knew that when I came back home, that was going to be one of the first things I did. I really wasn't even excited about event design no more. The purpose of helping other people that went through that horrible experience I just went through, that was what I wanted to do. That is what I felt like my purpose was. So I just got so excited. So this is like when everything for me started changing. I swear, everything started changing. That's when I decided that, in the beginning I did it wrong. I just invested with my capital, my startup capital, and that clearly is not the way I should have did it. But again, I didn't know any better. So that's what I did. So now I was out of pocket a couple grand that, could have been my overflow, and I could have been operating off of business credit, but I didn't know no better. But what I did do, and I know I came back home and I had to replace the money that I lost. So I can say my return on my investment was amazing, because I came back home, I did some quick events, and I was able to get my initial investment right back. Then I turned that and invested in some more training I needed, and then I launched my workshops. I was able to get that return on investment right back. Now I'm in my second phase, and now I'm operating off of business credit, totally different. And I wish I did it back then, because it's a game changer. So things I'm launching now, and things I'm investing into now I don't have to, deal with a zero bank account, because I'm operating off of business credit. I can't explain how crucial that is to a business, but now it's like the wheels are turning, everything is kind of connecting. And I say that to say, when I recommend a resource to people, it's not because, I'm blowing smoke, or I'm saying what everyone else say. I'm saying that because I went through the same exact process. I know exactly how some of you guys feel. I know exactly how sometimes you want to just give up. And truth be told, I still go through that today. However, my faith and my excitement is way bigger than the little bit of doubt that creep in, or the little bit of frustration. So I'm willing to balance that out, and just, I knock that little man off that shoulder and listen to the positive one. So I know exactly what it's like. And so that's why I'm now trying to create the boot camps and create a platform where people can actually learn different stuff. It's not all about getting a contract or buying a contract, because I was that person too. I bought my first contract. I didn't even buy my first contract. I think I just snagged it off a line. And until I did my research and understood that, it wasn't ironclad, that is when I, got into the advisory team. That's when I hired a lawyer, and that's when I had him critique it. And guess what? He changed it. He changed a lot. He changed a lot of the verbiage. It had some elements that it was missing that I had no clue of. And then I had to develop different kinds of contracts. It was no one contract for the whole entire business, because I had different entities now within my business. So it was a learning experience, guys, I'm telling you. And everything that I've learned, some good, some bad, but it all had a purpose. And that's all I'm trying to do at this point, is just share my experience. I clearly am no one's expert, but I'm an expert of what I experienced, because it was my experience, and I am at liberty to share that because we are in the same collective field. So 9 times out of 10, either you went through it or it's coming, because a lot of this stuff is inevitable if you do not do your ground foundational work. So what I have learned was 5 critical elements that I had to put in place. I'm sorry, ladies, I'm sharing my screen, but I'm looking at another screen, and I see some questions, so I will answer those questions in the end. I just want to get through these. It's only a couple of more slides, and then we're going to roll into the questions. So what I developed was 5 critical elements that I had to put in place. I knew I had to put these things in place. For one, if I didn't have them in place, I was not a business. I was acting as a business. And I don't want to just act as a business. I like professionalism. I like being able to, when someone asks for your EIN, to say, yes, I have an EIN. Or, so many people do this. And if you're not actually registered or have an actual business, it's a hobby, or if it's just something that you're passionate about. But I knew I had to get my financials in order, number one. In the beginning, I didn't get a business, did I? No, I didn't get a business account right away. So I still was operating out of, because it was just, at the time, I don't think I cared, because I knew it was my money, and I just didn't understand the whole accounting thing. So it just was coming out of my personal account. Everything was just coming out of my personal account. But I knew I had to develop an actual business plan with actual projections, like actual projections. Where do I see me being in 6 months? What is my income goal? Because if I don't set that, then how do I know if I'm on task? Let's just say my yearly goal is let's just say 250K. So with 250K, meaning my 6-month goal should be somewhere between 125. So at 125, if I go to do a review, and at 6 months, if I go to do a review and I'm not there, some things need to change. But normally I do the breakdowns every quarter. I even do them with some of you guys. We need to change some things. Maybe we need to add some resources. Maybe we need to delete some things that wasn't working. And whatever is working and that is bringing in some kind of profit, that is the things that need to stay in place. So that's why it's really important to do quarterly reviews, annual reviews, because it tells you exactly if your business is operating in the manner that it should to meet your year-end goals. I had to do my business banking and my savings, and I had to track expenses. In the beginning, I wasn't really good at tracking expenses. I really wasn't, because I just was buying so much. And you kind of, sometimes you think, well, if you buy it through a app or a program, you can always go back and download your invoices. But realistically, do you really do that? Do you really do that? Or will you have the ability to do that when something happens? So I think I had the comfort knowing that, if something happened, I could go in and get it. But when it was time to do taxes, it was a mess because it wasn't tracked. So it's now you're shuffling around trying to find this, trying to find that. And I'm like, okay. So now I knew I had to make some changes. So that's when I got into the QuickBooks. And I can tell you now, QuickBooks have saved my life. And it actually makes the life of your accountant a lot easier as well, or your CPA, or whatever it is that you choose. And it pans out that it ends up being cheaper depending on how their fee is scaled, but it ends up being cheaper because they don't have to shuffle through a bunch of paperwork. When you come and you show up and you are organized, and all you give them the files or access to your files, and it's just all there. And you didn't even have to do it because you were smart enough to go with something like QuickBooks. You are showing up as not just the professional, but the organized professional. And I'm telling you, any kind of advisory team member, they love clients that got their stuff together. They love it. So I was on the path to that. And not even a biz banking, but I also was building my business credit. That was right. At the time, I didn't understand why it was important, but it's really important. Another thing I knew I had to create or becoming a part of is a community. Like I said before, I didn't know many people in the events industry that was, you know, someone I aspired to be, or that I could actually touch and talk to and message. Those relationships were not there. Everyone that I was connected to was in other fields. So to have that kind of conversation, it was kind of like talking to talking to a mannequin, because when you putting out, but you really can't get realistic feedback, or, you know, you can't get ideas struck or anything like that. It's like, okay, so I had to create that kind of community. Well, I tried to become a part of those communities, but I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a kind of go along, or I know I am always in position to be a leader, or that is me. I've always been on that kind of platform. So I had to build my own community, and I had to structure it how I needed it to be for me. Like, I like engagement. So that's one of the biggest things that I always I talk about in my group. So it's kind of like I was creating a platform to serve people that were like me. I knew I had the smarts. I knew I had the ability. I knew I had the work ethic. All I was lacking was the resources and support, accountability partners. That is why I started with the Posh Academy, the Facebook group. I wanted not only me to be with other like-minded event pros, but I wanted a community to be with other like-minded event pros. I wanted to build relationships, and I wanted to have the ability to leave the chatter outside of my community. Like, I'm in other communities and I see it, and for me, it's just such a turn off. So I just don't engage in that. It's just not even something that's worth my time. So I knew I had to focus on my community, and I had to tweak it. It really took some time, because I told you, I went through my periods of disbelief, or, you know, when I just was doubting myself, and I would just disappear, because I felt like until I was in a place where I could serve someone else, I was doing a disservice to 2,800 people. I was doing a disservice to 2,800 people. If I didn't believe in me, how can I talk to someone else and have them believe in me? At that point, I was a fraud, and I felt like a fraud, because how can I tell you guys some stuff other than where to go get some fabric and where to go get some equipment? But business and entrepreneurship goes so much deeper than that. And I realized that so many people in our industry is lacking the necessities that is required to run a sustainable business. So that's what I disappeared, and I went and did my soul searching. And so when I came back, and I was very transparent in coming back, and I say, hey, I'm launching some new stuff, and I want to take some great like-minded women with me. But this is a process. It's a process. And that's what it is. It's acquiring accountability partners and actually going through this thing not by myself, because it's so much better when you have someone that is relative to what you've gone through or what you've gone through, and either they could share some expertise, or they could share a resource, or they could even just listen. Sometimes it's just good to zip your lips and just listen, but be able to resonate with what the person is saying. So I knew I had to build the community, and now it's kind of in full throttle. Now I am really just giving it all. I wanted to give it last year, but last year I didn't know how. I just didn't know how. So before I show up half-assed, I just rather not show up. But I'm not now, so we great roll in the Posh Academy. But I also knew I needed a viable idea. When I was launching, or when I even thought about launching my workshops, I didn't know if it was, desired, really. I saw the traction, that it was, getting a lot of engagement, but I didn't really know if this thing could be profitable. So I had to test it out. So what I would do is run surveys. I would always ask questions, and I would find out if there is even a need. There's no sense in me developing a program because I think it's cool. For one, I don't have that kind of time. And for two, it would be disheartening if it launched and it was a flop. And it would only be a flop for a couple of reasons. Either I didn't market it well, or I marketed to the wrong people, or it's something that people just don't want. So I had to find out if my idea was what people even desired, if it was a need. And I had to create, around everything I asked, all those surveys, I had to create my avatar. So now, not only when I add people to my group, or do they fit my avatar, you know, they're in a place where their needs are met because I surveyed them. And you could, some people do avatars different. I don't go as in detail as giving this person a name, and I don't do all that. I just normally create what the needs are, and I would develop a program, or I would develop a product around those needs. So once I found the viable idea, it was time to create it and launch it. And this is like in the beta phase, because you got to test it out. Like everyone, I see it often. Some people, they go through this process of creating programs and creating things and not doing a realistic, successful launch, because for one, they never tested it out. And people too scared to give stuff away for free. Like if I have something that has the ability to launch me thousands of dollars, why would I be scared to just give it away in the beginning just to see if it's even something people need? It's just that simple. When I told you guys that's a part of manifesting things into your life, that's exactly what it is. You have to give back. You really do. It's not all about you and how you can get this sale and how you can get that sale. If you give away your best stuff and you position yourself as the expert, you are guaranteed to get so much traction, because now you're believable. Not only do they like you, not only do they know you, but now they trust you because they have tested your product. There's nothing wrong with letting somebody test your product. When you're at a, let's just say a pop-up shop, you let them taste them brownies and them cookies, right? It's all about trusting. And especially when you're talking about a $1,000 program, people want to feel confident that they're going to get what they're looking for. So I tested it out. I didn't mind. I did a workshop, and first I had a free workshop. It wasn't like open to everyone. I knew it was open to my core, people that was supporting me on the process, people that would give me realistic feedback, because that's what I needed to tweak my business. So every time I did a beta launch, the whole purpose really was to get feedback. And to, you know, see if they liked it, see how could I improve. And that was like, honestly, it was some work giving things away, but it really made me develop programs that are proven to work. And then after I tweak it, I go with a full launch, because now I'm confident. Because if I had these group of people that tested it and said, okay, it's great, just make these changes, and I would pay X amount of dollars for it, oh, now I'm ready. I'm going into a full launch. And every time I went into a full launch, I was able to recruit my desired number. Being as though I was new to live classes, I didn't want a big class, because I'm all about intimacy. I want to make sure that the people get, you know, what they came for. I want to make sure they get the right amount of attention. I know if in the course of a day, if you have 5 newbies that know nothing of draping, that should really only require 1 instructor. If you have 10, you should at least have 2 instructors. It's kind of unfair to the group if it's like a bad ratio. I never have a class where you guys just show up and watch me do anything. This hands-on class is supposed to be hands-on. Like, you need your own backdrop, you need your own fabric, you need your own everything, because for one, that's the way I was taught. And when I went to training, that's what I did, and I liked it. So that is what I incorporated into my program. I don't want you guys sitting in the seat and you see me draping. No, that's not, I don't feel that's a hands-on class. So once I launched, I was able to employ a team. I didn't employ a team right away. I didn't get everybody, because at the time I didn't feel like I needed everybody. But I definitely knew I needed a CPA, I needed a lawyer, and I needed a VA. So I implemented that. It took me so long to find a VA, because VAs, it's hard, especially if it's one, the chemistry isn't there. And we just did a webinar on VAs. But if the chemistry isn't there, or you know, they aren't really knowledgeable in the field that they claim to be, or you, it could be you. Like, you don't know what you need a VA for. You know you need help, but you haven't really broken down those things to find out what your time suckers are. Where are you spending all of your time that's not producing money? If it's admin stuff, outsource it. Let somebody else do it. And if you got to pay a couple of dollars, so what? But at least you now can take your time and spend it elsewhere where you're being creative that can produce you some money to pay for the VA. So see how they work hand in hand? But then I knew I needed a support team, a support system. So I clearly always had my family as for support, but I needed a support system with you know, ladies or like-minded individuals that do what I do, or that want to do what I do, or that is doing more than what I do. All that kind of play hand in hand. So that what that do, that led me to kind of open up another business. And I knew I needed a coach or a mentor, because I'm always going to be the kind of person that, you know, my ideas always is going to run rampant. And normally is a business plan, if you're diligent enough to like revert back to it, because we all kind of get off the plan, or it's a coach to kind of steer you back and say, no, let's table that idea, kind of stay the course. So I knew I needed that. And until I really had those things into play, I was just, I don't know what I was doing. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So once I did all that, it was time to scale. And I mean, scale this thing big. Because when you get into actually living in your purpose, and I'm not saying just doing something because you like it because Sally do it, or you like it because it's going to generate money. I'm talking about doing something that lights you up. Where if money wasn't even a factor, you would still do it. Like, I'd sit in the house and do mock-ups just because I love what I could create. And I go into some of these mock-ups with, I don't even have a vision. I'm just like, it just comes, it's like a masterpiece. It's like Picasso. But that's what happens. So I knew it was time to scale. And I'm still in the scaling phase. And I knew I wanted 7 streams of income. That was my goal. So that's what I was working, that's what I'm still working towards. And that is how I developed 3 programs now. But the Posh Academy, I still have Posh Designs, but the Posh Academy now is like my baby, because that's where I got the most self-development growth. That's where I discovered who I was as an individual. That's where I discovered what my purpose is on this earth as far as serving other people. And that is just what really excites me the most. Like everything else, all that other stuff you can kind of have because you kind of just doing it to get along, or, you know, to, like I said, make sure your bills paid or something like that. Like, I spent the first half of my life living just I don't know what it was. I wasn't fulfilled. I really wasn't fulfilled like I am now. Like, I just can't explain it. So that's when I developed the Posh Academy, which was the drape and design community for everybody. That's the free group. That's everyone that's in event design, that's looking to get in the event design, that don't know where to start, that all of that good stuff. That is who that group is for, those guys. Then I had my VIP community that I launched when I first started doing workshops. And, you know, I didn't want to just leave those guys hanging after the workshop. So I wanted to develop a community, like a support system, just for those guys that took the workshop, everybody that take future workshops. And then when I disappeared last year, I canceled that group because I just didn't honestly feel the need for it. But realistically, when I came out of everything that, you know, gaining my clarity, I wasn't really serving the group, or I wasn't being a support system. And truth be told, I didn't know how to be, because at that point, I didn't know what they needed afterwards. And I only know that now because guess what? I did it too. I went through draping. I went through all that. So I say that to say, there's a lot of you ladies that may be interested in coaching or interested in just doing other things. And before, when I launched that group, I had no clue. Like, okay, well, what they going to do now? I didn't know how else to be a support, but now I do. So I opened that group back up. So if there's anybody on here that has taken a class, this is a draping class, and I closed the group down, but I opened it back up. So send your requests again, because there's some things we're coming through with that group. I know I did talk to a couple ladies that is interested in running some programs and launching some programs. So that'll be great for you guys. That's the mastermind group. The mastermind group is my group coaching community, and that is like amazing. The clarity that these ladies come away with, like if I knew about it, I'm not gonna say it wasn't done, because none of us really is inventing any of this stuff. It's already been done. But if I knew of it when I first saw it, I know I would have scaled a lot sooner, and I knew I would not have wasted so much money, and I would not have wasted so much time. But however, I really do think I needed to go through that, because it really made me respect my business a lot more, because it wasn't just handed to me. I crawled through this baby. I just went through the mud discovering things, because nobody would tell me. I didn't have the access to do any of that. So, I mean, down to all of the techie stuff I had to learn. So it's like now I value it a lot more. I really do. And I have a lot more to share, simply because I've gone through it. I've experienced it. So I'm just excited about that. And I'm only down to 4. There's one more. Rentals. Okay. I'm down to 5. It is 5. It must have came off the page. Streams of income. I want 7. So, my mind is tweaking. Still 2 more I need. I do want to write a book, but I think that's going to take a couple of more experiences in this field. But I run my workshops. I run the digital products. I run my group coaching program. And I'm running my annual events, which will lead to retreats. Next year, I'm looking to do my first retreat for the Posh Academy. And I'm putting that together now. But that is something that's going to be done every year. So I'm just excited about that. And what I know now that I didn't know at the time is simplicity is your best friend. Like, I always kind of go overboard. Like, I just need things to be perfect. And, we don't put things out there because, it's just not good enough for us. But you have to put it out there, because it's going to attract someone, and you need that leverage to determine where you're going. If I was in the beginning, if I didn't put, and there's a lot of my work that I didn't put out there because I didn't like it. But if I didn't put the work that I did put out there and attract the clientele that I did attract, at this point, at this level, I would not even be able to identify my ideal client, because I wouldn't know who I don't want to work with. Now I know exactly who I don't want to work with, and that is so key in my targeting. So I try to keep things simple, but it's hard, because I like things to be aesthetically, on point. But truthfully, the whole point is to get the message out there and to land. Whatever you're tossing, the whole point is for it to actually land. People could care less about, honestly, sometimes about how your stuff look, or it's all about value. As long as you give value, you'll be fine. Give value. Even when you speak, if it's not something of value, don't say nothing. Just don't say anything. I also learned to outsource. I am so used to wearing 20 million hats. I've always done it my whole life. But now, especially on the business aspect, like, that is draining. Like, I have no time to do the things I love, which is being creative. Like, I don't care if I spend 3 hours in my family room doing a mock-up, because that is so fun for me. And then I'm going to take those photos and I'm going to post them, and that is what's going to attract new clients. So I don't care about that, because I love that. That's what lights me up. And even like even my husband, when he walk in and he be like, wow, I can't explain to you guys what that really feels. And even my daughter, she helps me a lot. But in the beginning, she don't really see where I'm going with some things. But in the end, she was like, wow, man, that is really pretty. So to kind of get that they're the little like golden affirmations that just make me feel amazing. Like, okay, yeah, because going into it, I didn't have a clue. But also being consistent. Like, when I get overwhelmed, or when I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, I will disappear. And then I'll go and do whatever I need to do so I could come back with what I'm supposed to have. But moving forward, I think it's really, you have to be consistent. Like, you can't pop in and then go away and pop in. You can't do that. A lot of people try and incorporate the element of surprise, like they just disappear and then, you know, they jump back in thinking, oh wow, she's back. No, absolutely not. It don't work that way. Our attention spans is so short. Soon as you're gone for 7 seconds, you're forgot about until you pop back up on that feed line. And that's just, I mean, that feed, that's just how it happens. So you have to be consistent and across the board. That's like so important. That's what I know now. So that's what I try and incorporate into my business now. And it's really helping. It really is helping. I've always gave value, but even in the beginning, I used to worry like, well, if I give away all my free stuff now, I'm not going to have anything to sell. That is so not true, because the more you nurture and develop relationships, it's so many things that could be created. It's ridiculous. Guys, I'm a content creator. I'm telling you, I am able to create at least, if not create, I can at least table 5 ideas a day. I'm like, oh my God, that popped in my head. Or I ask a question and you guys give me the feedback. Like, it's never be afraid to give away valuable things, because you're going to attract valuable things right back to you. So don't let that creep in. Like, well, if I give it all away now, I'm not going to have anything left. No, just give it. We are givers. We are here to give, and it will come back. I'm telling you, it will come back tenfold. And until I was able to understand that, I was just, you know, running rampant in my business. It just wasn't making sense. So with that being said, some of you ladies know about the goal setting bootcamp. Starts May the 1st. I told you guys about a lot of things that I incorporated into my business and how I was able to get from the bottom level to like at least mid-range where I am now. And it was just, it just took a lot of work, a lot of due diligence. It took me not being scared, eliminating the fear. It took me investing in my business, like going to actually get the specific training for what I was trying to do, incorporating systems, employing a team. Like, it really took all of that. So I don't want you guys thinking that this is something you clearly have to do tomorrow, because it's a process. But in going through the process, and if you need an accountability partner, or even if you need a blueprint of what to do because you just clearly don't know, and you was me like 2 years ago or a year ago, this is a good place for you to start. Last month's boot camp was a great place for those to start that was just getting into or was trying to start a business. Even those that skipped a lot of the steps like I did, but it was like it was a lot to do. But coming out of it, they were able to identify systems and, you know, implement a CRM and create a whole onboarding flow. So if you're just having some trouble and knowing where your loopholes are in your business, or you don't know, you want to get to point B, but you don't know how, this is the boot camp for you. Or if you don't even know where point B is, and you need to do some strategies to develop, you know, where you're going in your business, this is the boot camp for you. If anyone that watched the live today, you'll be able to get $50 off the boot camp. It'll be up for 47 hours and you'll be able to enroll for $47. The boot camp is 30 days long. We meet every week virtually through a Zoom, and you get workbooks and you get assignments, and we go through the assignments, and it's just great. So if that is something that you feel like you could use and be on a platform of other like-minded women that's not afraid to share resources and tell you how to get out of a rut, you need to sign up for this boot camp. I'll post the link. The link will be in the group, and this replay will be available as well for 47 hours only. And yeah, just go register. So I'll put the link in the group. and I'll see you ladies who ever register. I want to thank you all for staying with me. I'm Precious Stevens, who serve event professionals of all experience levels with education and resources to scale their businesses and elevate their sales, starting with a mindset shift. I also want to send a thank you to all of the newbies that may joined on this webinar. I hope you are now a little more familiar with who I am. I do have a 3-part series webinar coming up next week. Definitely check your emails. If you are not on my email list, you need to click one of those links so you can get on the email list, because that is the only way you will have access to any of my content and any of my webinars. The 3-part series is on Zoom. It is a registration required, and it is password protected. So definitely register, because I no longer will be able to help anyone 20 minutes prior to the Zoom. And I did that last month. I think now I kind of got it. I understand it. And we scaling, right? So that's all I have, ladies. I want to thank everyone that was able to join me. I hope to see you guys May the 1st. I will post the link in the comments. It will be under the notifications tab, because I will pin it. And again, if you watch this, if you watch the live, if you stayed during the live, you can get it for $47 for the next 47 hours, and then it will go to the regular price. And even if you watch the replay, you would have to type in replay, and then you will be able to access the boot camp for the same thing, $47. And that's it. Thank you, ladies. Anyone else that watched the replay, thanks for watching the replay. Plug me a 1 in the comments, or a hey or something, just so I know you're here. Bye, guys. I will be in the group, because once you stop sharing your screen, it's going to cut this live off. So I just want to come in and say hey, show my face, and see you guys' thumbs. Bye.